Hi, everyone. Chris Wade here, producer Chris. I just wanted to do a quick plug before the show since this date is quickly coming upon us. We, the Chapo Elections Unit, will be in Des Moines, Iowa this Thursday through next Wednesday. We will be covering the Democratic primary race as it winds through the Iowa State Fair, but more importantly, we will be doing a live show next Tuesday night, August 13th, at Vaudeville Muse in Des Moines, Iowa. Tickets are on sale now at a link in the episode description to this very episode. We'd love to see any of you who can make it out there. And also, if you are in Iowa involved in the campaigns, an organizer, a potential caucus goer, soapbox days junkie, or even just someone who knows which booths have the best fried butter at the fair, we'd be interested in potentially talking to you while we're out there, so hit us up. Okay, with that, on to our live show from Traverse City, Michigan, featuring Michael Moore. All right, on to the show.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Traverse City, Michigan.
TC, Michigan. Taking care of Michigan.
I'm Virgil, Texas. With me are Chris Wade, Matt Chrisman, Brendan James, and we are a bastardized version of Chapo Trap House.
Yeah, this is like when the two other people from the Talking Heads went off and toured.
Tom Club. And Tom Tom Club rules.
Yeah, no, this is going to be good, too.
How many geniuses of love do we have out there?
Yeah, the two other people from the Talking Heads. How dare you?
Their names are Chris and Tina.
I'll take your word for it.
Will couldn't make it kind of last minute to this trip.
You have to go
so we
grocery
brought
shopping.
Both producers of the show, which I feel like if you combined us and divided us in two and then added a heaping dose of Upper West Side misanthropy, you would get one.
We equal one Will. I often, how many times I sub for Will, people either mistake me for him because we both have beards and we're white.
Yeah.
And are roughly, he's actually way older than me.
You're both cowards?
We're both cowards. We show that very visibly.
Sniveling little baby man.
Well, okay, so whatever.
Diaper fetishes.
Okay, there's some similarities. But so tonight, I'll visually represent Will. Maybe you can channel his, you can have your head bobble around like he does.
Yeah, Doppler past the microphone. All
Yeah.
That must be very frustrating for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you just want to strap his head into like a neck brace?
I want to make a cow feed harness that just holds the mic in front of him, so when he talks,
If we record an
it has
hour,
to move with him.
only a half hour of Will's words actually end up on the track
Because it's
the other
like he's
half go-
driving in a car past the microphone, backing it up.
This isn't being streamed, right? He can't see this.
No, he will hear it, though. He's getting fucking roasted.
Oh, yeah. For all of you who can't
That's what you get for moving when we're in Traverse City, motherfucker.
Bitch.
You get roasted.
And we are very excited to do what I think is the show we've done in the smallest town so far here in Traverse City.
Absolutely.
It is.
It's a small bean.
This is real America. There's a lake. That's a real American thing.
You need a lake.
That's how you know.
A creek.
No salt water.
A river.
Yes. The water does not have salt in it. That's how you know you're in real America.
We got in earlier this week, of course, for the film festival, and we have been enjoying that local favorite. What do they manufacture here? Painkillers? What is it?
Cherries.
Cherries, yes.
Cherries.
We have been enjoying so many cherries.
If you haven't had the cherry-flavored fentanyl, it's amazing.
Let's see them try to outsource that job. They probably already have by the time we began this show.
Yeah. But it's been lovely. Yeah. It's so you have the distinction of being the smallest place we've ever been in.
Smallest bean.
Smallest bean. And I hope you've all been enjoying the film festival as well because there's been some good stuff on. But now we're here.
Like what?
Oh, I've seen so much. I absolutely have not been just cooped up in the hotel to only occasionally leave to go to Pizza Hut and then do this. So why don't you actually talk about your favorite films?
Yeah, what were your favorite films, Matt?
A Taste of Sandpiper.
Yeah.
What's that about?
That's a great one.
Yeah.
The Carpenter's Lament. That's a really good one. 3 bells for Aunt Marie.
Did you catch that Q&A with the director of Three Bells?
I did.
Who
It
was that?
Very illuminating.
No, we all have the lanyards as well. When we're walking around, and it says filmmaker on it. Because like, they have to put something so that we're not, just like confusing to people.
If it said podcaster, people would throw bricks at us.
And rightly so.
And rightfully so.
Rightly so. So we have filmmaker on, and we have to think very quickly to tell people. And so I've been telling people I just, I made Moonlight.
You might have seen it.
And I'm doing the sequel, obviously. It's Moonlight 2 or Sunlight or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll think of the name.
I just told them, I make those fancy pornos with talking.
I directed Cars 4. And here's how the cars deal with loss.
Yeah.
This does raise a question we were asking earlier. If we were to have a film here to show, what would it be? Like, if we were going to make a movie, what individually would we want to make? Anybody have any? Because we talked about it. I don't know if anybody else had any ideas.
Lunch. Yeah.
Brendan?
Oh, I didn't prepare any joke. I'm sorry.
Pathetic. That's why you're behind the goddamn sticks.
I'm cutting my losses.
It's hard thinking about me.
I've got one. I'd probably do for a film festival type film, like something called like Waveform. And it would be like a documentary about an obscure synthesizer pioneer that is also all told, even though it's a documentary, like I shoot and edit the whole thing and then recreate the entire thing in claymation for no discernible artistic commentary.
Yeah.
And then release the soundtrack on vinyl, and it's just like one note slightly modulated for 45 minutes.
That's why you're the producer. That's very smart.
The vision just came to me like that.
I say this for the bottom of my heart. That sounds terrible. I would hate to watch
But it would play in at least 3 regional film festivals.
Okay, mine is picture a restaurant, and it's called Great American Escape, and it's got all kinds of like flags and stuff like that, and all of the tables, there are 50 tables, and all of the tables are in the shape of a state, and all the meal items are like baked Alaska. I'm sorry, I also didn't think of when I'm just using my restaurant idea.
There's only one food named after a state, though.
New York Strip. It's New York Strip.
Ooh, own.
Fucking
Once
own.
again,
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
What a
Kentucky Fried Chicken, that's copyrighted, sir. You'll be hearing from the Colonel's
another
lawyers.
debate lost by Matt Crispin.
We might.
There's not 50, okay? Let's just stipulate that.
Doesn't have to be.
There's no food named after South Dakota.
We might shoot a documentary tomorrow because we're going to check out.
That's right.
Interlochen nearby. Which
I'm going to try to be the Alex, like when Alex Jones went to Bohemian Grove. Because Interlochen, as you guys know, is very near here. It's a very prestigious art school for young gifted children, like Professor X's Academy. But in the 90s, it had, and from my knowledge and from people who have connections there, say it still has a cabin that was sponsored by, and I guess the property of, like he could access it, Jeffrey Epstein. So, yeah.
That's out.
It's real. So I'm hoping tomorrow to be able to infiltrate, find a cabin, and then get inside, maybe move some of the books around on the shelf until one of them causes the wall to turn around. Maybe there's a loose floorboard. Maybe there's just a black glowing obsidian cube in the middle of the floor. Either way, I want to find out.
Well, we're going to walk by a wall, and then the portraits on the wall, their eyes will shift, and then there'll be real eyes looking at us.
It's basically going to be like a real wacky episode of Scooby-Doo.
You all thought you would get away with it, but it took us 3 days to discover the terrible secret of Traverse City. Just 3 days.
Yeah.
And we do this every city we go, like when we went to Washington, D.C. and realized laws are bullshit.
Yoink, Scoob!
Yeah.
Why are there references to pizza everywhere?
Well, we'll get Epstein. We'll find him in his lair, and we'll rip off the rubbery mask that he's wearing, and it's actually just Bill Clinton. And he'll say, "I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for those damn podcasters." And we're hoping that all happens exactly like that tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
I won
that's
an
not-
Emmy for that.
That's not all Matt has been investigating in Traverse City. He's also discovered some delightful local stores.
Yeah, I took some pictures of the town, put a few of them online, but I was very charmed by it. I don't even remember the order, so let's put the first one up just to see what it is.
A slideshow curated by Matt Chrisman.
Yeah, here we
Oh,
go.
there we go.
Okay,
No.
I saw this and I thought, there's two types of towns left in America, right? Outside of the knowledge economy, gentrified cities that are all the money
Where
and
the coastal elites
population and capital are flowing to, and where the rents are all exploding.
Soon to be buttressed fortress
Exactly.
refuges of the global.
Yes, the global knowledge economy elite. Yeah, New York, San Francisco, Chicago, whatever. Every town in the middle of the country, there's two types. There's one where there aren't even grocery stores anymore. Like the Kroger is now just a fucking shooting gallery. And you have to scrounge for scraps behind the one open Taco Bell. That's only open because that's where people go to actually buy drugs. And then there are towns that have still open and supposedly thriving fucking fudge stores. That's it. There's this insane dual nature of America's exurban reality is that because you're close enough to a lake or you've got some sort of local economy, you
Tourist
really
economy, yeah.
you got a lot of cherries or something, you can maintain in a little glass jar this 50s Main Street where everyone can enjoy treats like the fudge store or the model train store.
Yes.
Adorable. You go a few miles down the highway, though, where you don't have any cherries or lakefront view, and it's just here's the combination gas station strip club, and that's it.
That's 90% of our economy.
If you're feeling like you might get scurvy, just use some of the lemons they give you in the fucking drinks. That's as close as you're getting to nutrition.
I also want to say, real Pizza Hut here. Real.
Oh, yeah.
Not that combination bullshit, that
No.
kiosk.
In New
fucking
York,
nonsense. Oh.
I'm a big Pizza Hut head. I'm an original Pizza Hut guy because I grew up in Washington, Pennsylvania, southwestern Pennsylvania, and right around the corner from my Nana's house, there's a Pizza Hut, sit-down Pizza Hut, an honest Pizza Hut, a good, hardworking people's Pizza Hut. And we would go there all the time, and that was my idea of a night out. And so in New York, you can't find those. It's all, as you said, the Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, closet that you walk into, and it's an express, and everything's frozen.
Ugh.
It's terrible. But
It's a Thunderdome.
yeah.
You don't know. You're gonna order the breadsticks, and they're gonna come in a tortilla. You don't know.
I grew up also by a Pizza Hut, the real red roof.
Yes.
Yes.
Standing
Real
structure.
red roof
Salad.
pizza hours.
Yes.
Salad bar.
Salad bar. You guys probably know this, but in the 90s, Pizza Hut was the #1 purchaser in America of kale, but they didn't use them in the salad bar. They used them as decoration around the salad bar.
And then some enterprising health guru was at a Pizza Hut and said, wait a minute.
What if we just gnaw on this shit?
What if we take this?
So we had an extravaganza.
me too, but that's what I had. I have as a young nerd, I have an extra connection to it because I was a very proud and enthusiastic user of the Book It program, where you could prove that you read a book, they would give you a free personal pan. And this is sort of like if you imagine America's policy for different issues as whack-a-mole. Like that book, it was trying to whack youth literacy, and they hit it, but then youth obesity just popped up next to it. Let's do the next one. What do we got here?
Can we see the next
Slide,
photo?
please.
We stumbled into a fundraiser for Ferris University. I'm very proud of Mr. Bueller for all of his work.
Weird that he went on to found an educational facility because in that movie, he was so anti
Education, yeah, irony. But anyway, one of the things that they have there apparently is the Jim Crow Museum of Racist Memorabilia. For our audience,
Look,
listening.
I understand that the guy donated a lot of money, but
James Crow James Crow is a name, but yeah.
Yeah,
we saw
so it
that.
says here, the Jim Crow Museum is an international leader in the anti-racism movement, also the international irony movement, and the nation's largest public collection of artifacts spanning the segregation era, from Reconstruction until the Civil Rights Movement and beyond. The movement serves as a base for quality scholarship. This includes, but not limited to, producing original research, planning, and hosting tours and conferences, and conducting anti-racism training sessions. So if anyone ever asks you where the racism factory is, you can tell them it's at Ferris University.
And like, obviously, the mission of this place is good and fine, but the phrase memorabilia is so funny to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, imagine
Yeah.
going in here and being like, "Oh, dude, come over here. They got a George Wallace rookie card.
Yeah.
This is from when he was first in state senate and really getting the racism points on the board."
Now, when you visit the Jim Crow Museum, definitely check out the Nick Mullen wing.
All right, let's do the next one. Oh, yeah, just this.
Oh my God.
This is some of the cool-ass shit you could buy here
I
on the
haven't
main
seen
street.
this.
So this is a T-shirt, and it says, "Yes, I do have a beautiful daughter. I also have a gun, a shovel, and an alibi."
Did you get that for me? Because I genuinely want that.
I didn't know you saw this.
I don't know. Is he saying he's going to kill his daughter? Because she's
Yeah, a
the only
gun,
person
a
named
shovel.
on the shirt. Like,
Yeah, who's the target? The target
yeah,
of
it's
the
like,
sentence?
who is the implied audience to this? It's like, "Dear Mr. Police, please stop me before I kill again." All right, next one. All right, this is the last one, and this is just to say, so, you know, like I said, Traverse City, one of the good towns. That means they've got a lot of relatively new building. And one of the new buildings you've got downtown is this thing where they have put on the windows this totally superfluous metal grate. And I looked at it, and it just pissed me off so fucking much. Because what the fuck is that supposed to be there for? Is it just to make it harder to clean the windows? I mean, I guess the idea is like, we're not going to shell out for a balcony, but we want it to kind of look like a balcony for like a half a second until you realize, no, that's not a balcony. It's just a totally pointless piece of fucking metal.
One
It's
of the
infuriating.
one
One
of
for
the
babies.
main experiences of traveling with Matt is walking around with him in various new places and like pointing out shit like that and being like, "Look, that's kind of dumb," and then having to stand there for 5.5 minutes while he screams at a building in the middle of a town we've never been to.
Oh, God,
while people are pushing like children in strollers next to them.
You should have
Hurry
the
up.
experience of walking through a strange town with statues with Matt. Statues of Civil War guys. You know, just a guy from the 9th Bearded Infantry that he will just stop and just have, again, like a Ferris Bueller moment, staring at him, and then just explode in a tirade about what a piece of shit he was.
That only happened once.
No, that is a lie.
It was
That
in
is a
Providence,
lie.
I think
Rhode
there are at
Island.
least 2 statues I've seen Matt.
No, what was the other
Conversation.
one? What I will admit to one. We were in Providence, Rhode Island, and there was a statue of Ambrose Burnside.
Here we go.
Who was the most
Son of a
prominent Rhode
bitch.
Islander of the Civil War, but also one of the most incompetent generals the Union had. Just led the army to slaughter at Fredericksburg. And I got mad that they would think to commemorate such an oaf. But that's the only time.
When we were in Amsterdam, I vaguely remember you stopping by every other statue to yell.
Who am I going to yell at there? Bunch of Dutch motherfuckers?
No, I have it. In London, there is a square right outside of Parliament that has statues of every single prime minister from the 20th century.
I mean,
And
line up.
I
Not
stood with that
everyone.
while he went to every single statue and told every single statue why they sucked ass.
Every single. What did you have on Pitt the Younger?
I prefer the elder. I'm sorry.
Now, before we get to our special guest tonight, I have to ask, who here was at our debate live stream a couple nights ago?
Bless you all.
Bless you.
Wow,
you are
really,
our,
thank
The
you
real
are
heads.
our
heads.
loyal bannermen.
The
Thank
real
you.
heads here.
Did you have a good time at the debate live stream? It was prime us being drunk and screaming.
Yeah. A lot of screaming.
Not everyone did have a good time. And the organizers of this festival got an email.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if perhaps when you were in the audience you noticed some people leaving. Here's the email.
Yeah, no. We're not just going to talk about it. We're just going to directly read it because, why not?
I had a terrible experience at the debate airing at the festival. the podcast announcers made mockery of the debates.
By the way, wait a minute. So you didn't say this. The podcast is 2 words. You need to. That really tells you all you need to know about who wrote this.
And I would not say we made mockery of the debate. I would say we treated the debate with the intellectual respect that it deserves.
Indeed.
And that it's giving us.
Yes.
We tried to watch an Old Town Theater basement, but the sound did not work.
Wait a minute, this place has
as far
a
as I can
basement?
tell, these people.
Matt,
What the fuck's going on down there?
No! Stop it!
Cut his
Stop
mic!
It, stop it!
Cut his mic!
As far as I can tell, they so they went down to some utility area to escape us.
Next to the pizza boxes.
It was suggested we go home and watch. We were
I love that. It suggested you fuck off.
We were.
I don't know, dude. This is what's going on tonight. Go find another place.
We were camping for the film festival. I was almost.
That's weird, by the way.
I was almost in tears because I am a patriot. Are
It's
you
a
in
free
the
ticket,
audience, right?
motherfucker.
Are you in the audience right now, Mr. Rutgers?
Yeah,
I'm
we
sorry.
were- yeah.
And we have a T-shirt.
It
to
was
offer
free.
you.
Yeah, it's a free ticket. Fuck off. Good luck getting a refund, motherfucker.
Okay, I think our guest is ready.
Oh, great.
Really?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
so. I think Godot is here.
All right.
He
Now-
is he's a traitor to America, and he hates capitalism. And he was the director of Fahrenheit 9/11.
Yes.
Fahrenheit 11/9, Capitalism, a Love Story, Sicko,
Bowling for Columbine.
Roger and Me, Bowling for Columbine. And he also wrote Canadian.
Canadian
the music
Bacon. He
video
directed
for
Canadian
Rage Against
Bacon.
the Machine, Sleep Now in the Fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Moore.
Wow, it's an honor to be here with you guys.
Well, thank you for the invite.
Mike is the reason why we're in northern Michigan right
That's
now.
true.
Yes.
Have you ever been here before?
I have not, but
I lived in Ann Arbor for a year.
Well,
I did. Yeah.
think of this as the Ann Arbor of the North.
Yeah, no, definitely get that vibe.
we were on tour not too long ago, and we did a show in Detroit where, of course, we all stood in, we all did not leave the hotel because of the Sharia law no-go zones surrounding the area. We did not, Amber is an unmarried woman. We did not want to run into any trouble there.
Right. Did you, so were you right downtown Detroit? Or
We were near, adjacent to downtown.
adjacent. Did
Yeah.
you see the big fist, the Joe Louis fist?
I've seen the fist, yes.
That is, that is art here in Michigan. A giant, a giant fist.
It's like anything. We want to do any kind of public arts. Like, that's fine, but could it be punching someone?
Well, we saw the, what is that installation called with the clocks and the foreign people?
Heidelberg.
Heidelberg Project.
Heidelberg Project. Yeah.
Right, right.
We also got, when we were there, we got taken on a car tour by a local, I guess, photojournalist, photo blogger. Yes! Yes!
Oh, shit.
Wonderful. Hell yeah. He took us on a tour around just like the totally desiccated areas of the Detroit residential neighborhoods, were just blocks and blocks and blocks of blasted, empty landscape. And my favorite detail from it was the land boats, which there's like a dumping regulation about boats in the Detroit area. I mean, please stop me if I'm butchering this story. So it makes more sense for people to just drive their boats that they want to sell into the middle of the city of Detroit, decouple them and abandon them in downtown Detroit. So you're just like driving around through these empty blocks, and there'll just be a decaying boat in the middle of the street, not tethered to any kind of access to water. Very unnerving.
It's I think Detroit is still a surreal experience.
Oh, very much.
For if you're not from here, but like the idea of a boat graveyard. That's very possible.
America does not seem well overall. That is the
Does
lesson.
America
we've learned.
really give a shit about Detroit? Really?
No, it doesn't.
No, not really. So likewise, Detroit really doesn't give a shit about America. I'll give you. Here's the example of it, of how true that is. In the 2016 election, 90,000 Michiganders, many of them in Detroit, 90,000, stood in line for over 2 hours to vote and went in and voted for every candidate, mostly, obviously, Democrats, Congress, state Senate, state House, all the way down to drain commissioner, which is our lowest office. We don't have dog catcher, but the person in charge of the sewage, you have to vote for that person. And they voted for all those offices and left the top box blank. Didn't vote for president. 90,000 Michiganders stood in line and waited that long just to say, fuck you. It was like, wow, that is a commitment. That is a serious commitment. Hillary lost the state by about, I think, 11,000 votes.
But who was the drain commissioner?
But the drain commissioner actually beat Hillary in most
we have
counties.
progressive drain values in Michigan.
You know, the weird thing about that is that Bernie won the primary in Michigan.
Yeah.
And-
Nate Silver gave him a 0% chance to win that primary.
Yeah, that's
Nate
what they gave
Silver.
him. No, right. That morning, I remember that morning on Channel 2 in Detroit, the forecasters of this day's election, this primary election, I think they said Hillary was going to win by 60 or 70%. It was some outrageous number. And even Bernie believed it because he had left the state halfway through the day, went to Florida, went to bed. If you remember, when he won Michigan, they had to wake him up in his Motel 6. He was like in a Motel 6, and he comes out in I don't know what that was. It was either his pajamas or the Motel 6 bathrobe. But it was... Seriously, you could go online and watch this. It was the most amazing thing. In this city that you're sitting in now, when I use the word city loosely, it's called Traverse City. There's only 14,000 people that live here year round.
Classic irony, bros.
Right? So in this city, Hillary beat Bernie 70 to 30%. 70% Bernie, 30% Hillary, and that was a higher percentage Bernie got here than he got in Ann Arbor. So where you're located in this particular city in a very, very progressive left socialist oasis.
Yeah.
Mike, I definitely want to talk to you about 2016 in Michigan and your thoughts on the 2020 election. Before that, I want to talk a bit about your early career because Chris and I were talking about this earlier, and he suggested that in some ways you prefigured what is now called the dirtbag left, which is... look, come on, just look.
I look good. I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you saying? What are you talking about?
And in the 80s, you attended college, you dropped out. And then from there, you became editor of
I dropped out for the right reason. If you are of the... I would say I was of the sloppy left then. I don't know.
Which is the precursor.
It is the precursor to the dirtbag left. But I dropped out. I went the first day of my sophomore year. I went to a commuter campus in Flint. And I couldn't find a parking space. I drove around for an hour.
I remember that from your book.
And after an hour, I just said, fuck it, I'm done with college. And I've never been back. So it's a true story.
So how did you go from there to being editor of Mother Jones?
That's what I was wondering. I was putting out my alternative newspaper in Flint called The Flint Voice. And it was the sort of the opposition to General Motors. Flint is the hometown of General Motors. At that time, it was the world's richest company, and we thought this, all we've been done is we've been force-fed all this bullshit about corporate America, General Motors, et cetera. So we need some opposition to this, And in Flint, there was a historic tradition of this. In 1908, General Motors was founded in Flint. After a year of this conglomerate, because they had bought Chevrolet and Buick and Cadillac and all these companies together, the people of Flint freaked out that this mega corporation, something that had never really been seen before, was taking over the town. So in the next election in 1910, the people of Flint elected a socialist mayor to stop General Motors from, essentially taking over the town. This freaked out the people of General Motors. So they, in the next election, decided to run one of their founders, Charles Stewart Mott. You might have heard the name, the Mott Foundation. funds shows on PBS or NPR or whatever. And they ran him, and they ran in the local newspaper all these scandalous articles about the socialist mayor and convinced the town that he was, up to no good. And so this head of General Motors essentially took over as mayor and then really turned it into a company town. So our newspaper, the Flint Voice, was to go back to that tradition of taking on the powers that be at General Motors. Somebody at Mother Jones saw the paper. They were losing their editor. They called me up and asked me to come out and talk to them, and I did. And then they offered me the job. And I was so excited that I could do what I was doing in Flint on a national level. I took the job, and I wasn't there a month when I realized, oh, my God, I made a horrible mistake. The magazine was owned by a very rich man, and he wanted me basically to do his work,
Mr. Jones.
Yeah, and Mr. Jones. Yeah, we'll call him Mr. Jones. And I didn't want to run the articles they wanted to run. It was a kind of liberal, mushy stuff. And what I had done is I gave a monthly column to an auto worker on the assembly line in Flint, and I started doing articles about the Sandinistas and all this, and they were like, "Whoa!" And then they wanted me to run an anti-Sandinista article. And then, the staff was unionized, and I kept taking the side of the staff, basically. And I got called in and was told I was management, and I can't take the side of the union. And I said, well, the union's right. And this is supposedly a magazine named after a socialist.
You'll be happy to know Mother Jones is back to its progressive.
Yeah, it's amazing the turnaround they had. They're so good these days.
It's not at all a complete fake mouthpiece for the initial.
And also, listen, I know you had your reasons for cutting that anti-Sandinista piece, but Elliot Abrams has been a pretty good columnist for Mother Jones the past few years.
The man can turn a phrase.
Yeah.
So you got bounced from New York media.
Point taken.
From Big Left.
They fired me. They fired me 4 months into the job, appropriately on Labor Day, by the way. Nice. So I was without a job, and I didn't know what to do, and I was stuck in San Francisco. And then one day I saw on the TV that Roger Smith, the chairman of General Motors, was eliminating another 30,000 jobs nationwide, and I thought, I should make a movie about this. And I didn't have any idea how to make a movie. I didn't go to film school. I only had a year of college in me. But, I'd seen a lot of movies. And
It's basically as good as film school, as somebody who's gone to film school.
We've seen a lot of movies, too, and that's what encouraged us to become political and social commentators.
Did any of you go to film school, or you did?
Oh, yeah. My best experience from film school was running the radio station.
And so you were, you were basically like a suburban kid, right? Like you were the product of the middle class, like the deal working.
Well, I was
labor getting its share.
I was born in the city of Flint, but my dad was from the city, and he married my mom. My mom lived in a what was essentially her family moved there in the 1830s, and so they were like the first 6 families that started the Catholic parish there, and they were very early settlers in that area of Michigan, and it was just a small little village at the time. So my family had actually been there and in Genesee County forever, since before Michigan was a state. And but yes, my dad worked on the assembly line at AC Sparkplug, General Motors, and my mom was a secretary, a clerk in a township office. And nobody in their generation or their family had ever been to college. But we had a working class life, but by then the union had fought for so many things. I mean, we had completely free health care, no co-pays, no deductibles, free dental, free eye care, free lawyers if you needed a lawyer for a will or any kind of civil matter. The union provided free attorneys. There was 4 weeks paid vacation every summer, and then a week paid at Christmas time. And that was 5 weeks of paid vacation. The UAW integrated the assembly lines back in the 40s, and so our parents worked beside, everybody. It wasn't just in the old days, African Americans had to work in the foundry and the worst jobs. And by the time, my dad and my uncle was in the sit-down strike in 1936, 37 that founded the UAW. So I go way, my family goes way back in this whole struggle, but I ended up with decent teeth because of the union.
All right. Well, you did Roger and Me, which was it was a hit. It was a notable film that got a lot of attention about something that had been going on for a bit: the decline of unions and the deindustrialization of the Midwest, of the steel belt, the auto industry, and so on. You kept that flame alive throughout the 90s. You had 2 TV shows. You did the big one, your speaking tour. I mean, what do you attribute that decline to, generally?
The decline of a city like Flint?
Yeah, I mean, which is just the decline of everything by that example.
Wow. There's not enough time on this podcast.
I know. Maybe I shouldn't have asked
really get into that. But basically,
Men wearing sandals in public.
But I would say if you look at all of my movies, it is each of them. If you strung them all together, it is a 20-hour film about the evils of an economic system that is unfair, unjust, and not democratic. And as a result, the decisions do not get made by the people who are affected by the economy. And I've never considered this country a democracy, because it's not to say that we get to vote doesn't make it a democracy. That's part of it. But the other part is we have to have a say in the economy. We have to own the country. We, the people, have to own the country, or it's not a democracy. So
I ask because it seems like that was the wilderness. And we talk about this era of the past 40 years a lot on the show of the decline of labor unions, the financialization of the economy, because that's how you understand what's happening today, is knowing about the era where you were doing this work.
People got scared, and they got manipulated, and the companies and the banks decided the way to stop any kind of revolution or any kind of uprising against this was to have people have their heads spinning so fast, force them to be able to live from paycheck to paycheck so they never have a moment's rest, make them work 2 jobs or 3 jobs so that they can't get involved politically because they don't have the time, and dumb down the rest of the country and their kids, take money away from the schools, shit on the teachers. There's a whole process that's been going on, especially since 1980, since Ronald Reagan, where the idea has been to create a frightened nation where people are so scared that they're just not going to make it. That statistic this past year that came out, that the majority of our fellow Americans do not have enough available cash in the bank or in their pocket, that if a loved one died tonight, all the way across the country, they cannot go to the funeral because they cannot buy a plane ticket. This has been a heaven that corporate America never could have dreamed of, that they could have people so debilitated, so demoralized, so afraid that they better keep their head down and not say a whole lot, so afraid that Virgil, we gotta vote for Joe Biden. Because if we don't vote for Joe Biden, we're gonna lose. Because Joe Biden, we gotta go to the middle, and we gotta find the middle, and we gotta get those Trump voters back, and and it's like, wow, And the pundits, I was on the show after the election, the debate the other night, and it was like I couldn't believe the questions they're asking me. It was like 1980. Lunch bucket Joe questions. How you going to get back to working class? And they talk about the working class as if it's some fucking white guy with a lunch bucket, and it's not. The working class, the majority of the working class are women, the majority of the working class are young people, and the majority of the working class are people of color. That's the working class. And when you say working class, that's what should be you. But when we say working class, that's not what people think, is it? They've got everyone's mind so polluted with the way they want us to see the world. They want us so afraid that we will not put in somebody who is going to take their game away from them. And so if that's what you want, run Hillary, run Joe Biden, and first of all, that'll guarantee you're losing. I mean, don't get me wrong, Joe Biden Hillary won by 3 million votes, Joe Biden will win by close to 5 million popular votes and still never enter the Oval Office because Trump will win the Electoral College again. If we don't get this straight right now, that's exactly what's going to happen. I said this back in the summer of 16, and nobody listened to me, and I was booed on Bill Maher when I said it, and then I just said, yeah, they don't want to hear this.
He did not want to hear the new rule.
Michael,
Bill Maher actually he said listen to him, but people were like, no, tell us what we want to hear.
Michael, it sounds like you did not go to Joe 30388. Because if you had, you would know that Biden is the way to victory. I don't know what that was supposed to be.
Yes, no, so we have
he
to
had a
say-
stroke on national television.
Michael,
And we're just like, that's fine.
Michael, you say that America does not care about Detroit, but I saw 8,000 candidates over the past week making their case right there. And did you not believe any of them were going to fight for the people that we've been describing tonight?
I believe Bernie would. And Bernie has.
So
Yeah.
I believe Elizabeth Warren has some very good ideas.
Sure.
Why she has to keep saying, but I'm a capitalist, it's
Who knows?
Because all her policies are to pull the rug out from under the capitalists. So, and
she's a convert, She's still in that conversion process.
But I'm trying to put a happy face on something that I don't even know. They have a lot of gall to show up in Detroit or Flint.
That's true.
And first of all, to just show up in Michigan, when we learned a month after the Flint debate for the 2016 election between Bernie and Hillary, that Hillary was fed the questions in advance by one of the CNN people.
They did that shit.
And they used these mothers in Flint at the microphone in the middle of the aisle to ask their questions about the Flint water poisoning. And Hillary knew what they were going to ask. When Flint found that out, people in a city that's already so demoralized, people decided to stay home in November. 8,000 African Americans who had voted twice for Obama stayed home. Now, they're not going to ever vote for Trump, but they were not going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And that's never really been discussed as to how did Hillary lose the state of Michigan, a state with 4 or 5 majority black cities. That's one of the reasons that she lost it. The other reason was President Obama, who I love, came to Flint during the election year and stood in front of people and drank the Flint water, telling them it was okay when it wasn't okay. And we know that water, that one of the aides brought it from Air Force One. There was no way to get water in that high school because it had been turned off a year and a half earlier. There was no water fountain. There's no water. There's no kitchen in that high school.
For the record, I would not still love this man knowing that.
Well, I say that because it's hard. It's hard for me because I'm a little bit older than you guys, so I lived through a different time. In 1968, it was the Thursday before Palm Sunday. I'm walking out of our Catholic church after Mass on this Thursday night. One of the dads had gone to warm up the car, turned on the radio, got out of the car, and shouted to all of us coming out of church, "They've just shot Martin Luther King!" And a cheer went up amongst the people coming out of Mass, out of church. Now, I'm an 8th grader, and that image was so seared into my head to this day that I would live to see a black man voted president of the United States. Just that alone was so stunning and reduced me to tears at 11 p.m. on that election night. But
especially coming out after the Bush years, and
Yes.
someone who claimed to repudiate Bush.
Yet all through his 8 years, I was very critical of the things he did that were wrong. For instance, when General Motors went bankrupt and the government took it over, like the government owned General Motors and Chrysler, man, what an opportunity. What an opportunity to say, okay, we're in charge now. Now, we're not in the business of building cars. We're going to turn this back, but not until there are some changes. Change number 1 is the internal combustion engine is killing this planet. So we're not going to build those anymore. And what Detroit is going to be known for is building clean transportation for the 21st century. We're going to build bullet trains. We're going to build light rail. We're going to build, a bus system that works. And we're going to wean ourselves off the automobile. What if he had done that? Yeah. What if he'd done that? Where would we be? Instead, he just gave them the car company back, and they just kept screwing the workers.
I'd like to link a few of these last questions together, I think, and also shoehorn in an hopefully funny anecdote, which is that, you've been doing the kind of thing that we've been doing very recently for 30 years now, and more than that. And over that time, you've basically been, as far as like I can conceive of it, in my knowledge of pop culture, one of the bleeding left edges of the, democratic universe, the liberal universe in this country. And this is the shoehorned in anecdote, because I remember feeling political in like the early Bush years as like a young high school student, and like going out and like trying to protest the war in public squares and stuff. And then me and my friends watching Roger and Me for the first time and becoming so insanely angered by it that we spent the rest of the evening in my friend's basement like whittling like weapons, like spears, out of like extra wood that was in the basement for some reason, just because we were so just like omnidirectionally angry, and we were like, we just need to do something about this incredible movie that we just saw that made us so angry at everyone. But so over the course of the time that you've been doing what you've been doing, hopefully making people very, very angry about the people who we should be mad at, we're now in this place where since 2016 and now there is perhaps for the first time in your career like a genuine mass left movement in this country beyond anything that we've seen.
Right now, this weekend, 1,500 socialists are meeting
in Atlanta. What might be one of the biggest socialist gatherings.
The biggest socialist gathering in several decades.
Yes. And so it kind of popped in 2016 with the Bernie campaign and had this huge energizing force behind it. And now we are 4 years later, and we're in these debates, and Bernie is one of the central candidates of these debates and owning people left and right from the debate stage. But also there are like 19 other people around him that are sucking energy out. So I just would like to hear your perspective on our current left moment. And if from your perspective of having done this forever, does this feel like the real deal with you, or does this feel like something that we're going to have to like struggle and maybe be disappointed with?
No. I believe, this is the path to victory and to a better country and a better world. I'll tell you why. First of all, there may be 1,500 socialists meeting in Atlanta right now, but every poll now shows that people under the age of 35, the majority, believe in socialism over capitalism.
Yes.
So that's the new way. It's already. I almost could I could just call it a day at that, knowing that statistic. Here's the other good news. Every year, 4 million 17-year-olds turn 18.
Yes.
4 million. Since Obama's election in 2008, that means that's 11 years. That's almost 40 million young people have become voters. All right, this is the final year, according to the data, that the baby boomers will own the show in the sense of the demographic and the numbers.
Rip. And so therefore, very shortly, there will be a president who does the floss dance at their inaugural.
When will we have our first streaming president?
All right, I'll finish to answer his question. Because you mentioned that you guys, I listened to you, and I got to say, first of all, the reason I was honored that you asked me to be on the podcast tonight is I really think of you as my babies. And
when I tell you that story about the weapon stuff,
Matt is baby.
Yes, baby. I tell you that story about the weapon stuff.
It's been well established that Virgil is baby.
You were the guy when I was much younger that was like, oh, this is the only person who knows the right thing around now. And I imagine if I was the same age, I'd be listening.
I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier, about that moment when you are doing your work about Flint and deindustrialization and its consequences. Our man, Don, shout out to Don, told us that the people in Traverse City proper, they're good liberals, they vote left, but and the surrounding areas, that's all Trump country. And I didn't ask why, but there's this real question that those are all not just the used hot tub salesmen and Kia franchise owners who make up Trump's base. It's also people who have what Marx would call false consciousness, who should be the people organized in the working class, and that's how we agree. That's how you make change, by organizing around class lines. But then they go off and they become QAnon people. They become MAGA people. So we can talk about them, and we can also talk about, say, the majority of people who do not vote at all, and are correct to do so, I would argue, because they recognize that our politics is a fraud, and there's no that voting for someone does not make a material change in your life with our current party system. I mean, so how do we get out of that? That's the $1 million question. And also, we keep getting asked that in interviews, and I don't have an answer for it, how to fix politics. So I hope you have a good one, and I can just repeat it.
The first group that you mentioned, the ones that vote for Trump, and otherwise you would think, maybe there's some hope, or you could save them or whatever, but you can't. That's just we have to accept. We have to quit working so hard, trying to worry about them and trying to convince them. They're the minority, and they will never change. Even the good one. I can name good people in this area that voted for Trump. Good, but when I say good people, I mean, they raise their kids, they're kindy on the street, they're not assholes, but they don't like black people, and they're misogynist because they think women are sometimes a little too loud, they're talking a little bit too much, and really shouldn't have any say over what happens to a fertilized egg, and that I can't help them. And I have to let them go. And I have to trust every year 4 million 17-year-olds become 18. And they're not assholes. You know what?
They've also gotten mad from Facebook memes.
But your generation and the generation that's come after you, the one that's been in the Parkland generation, these kids are so great. They don't hate. They don't judge you on who you love. It's a very different generation. And that's who is becoming voters. And the older people who see black people in a certain way, who see women in a certain way, they are, and God rest their souls, dying off. And they've been dying off. I mean, think about this. Anybody who was, say, over the age of 55 in 1980 and voted for Ronald Reagan, on average, they're dead. They're dead. And that's why I was really talking to all these people on MSNBC the other night after the debate. They keep talking about politics like it's 1980. Those people are gone. Why are you still talking about these Reagan Democrats? Well, they died.
I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about Ronald Reagan in the news lately. So I don't know if we want to slander him tonight.
Can we roll the Nixon tape?
But yes. wait a tick. I'm sorry, but I don't think you answered my question, because you're just saying just wait and the demographics will sort it out. But I know a lot of young people who are the rich fucking country club gated community shit.
Not a lot.
That's true. Who are voting for the fucking right. And who know where their fucking bread's buttered.
Yeah, that is not the majority of young...
I am asking a specific question.
Yeah.
How do we rebuild working class consciousness in this country that has been systematically destroyed over the past 40 years? I'm sorry for yelling. That
no,
seemed mean.
The second part of your question was
have to
about
yell Tim Ryan 2020.
The people who don't vote. They make up the largest political party in America. It's called the non-voter party. There are more of them than are Democrats, Republicans, or independents, the non-voters. They're the people we should reach out to. They're the people that we have a chance. But we will not win them with Joe Biden. And we won't win them with white privilege platitudes of how we define things. It happens because... I've been saying this for some time now. If the swing states will get ballot proposals on the ballots next year to bring out this base, we have a chance of winning. They're not going to come out for the Democratic
Like
candidate.
Karl Rove did in 2004, putting the gay marriage propositions on the ballot to bring out the conservative right. The Christian
Exactly, and it
conservatives.
worked. 14 states passed the anti-gay marriage laws in 2004. In Michigan, we kicked the Republicans out of Lansing. The governor, the lieutenant governor, secretary of state, and the attorney general, all the Democrats, they were all elected in November. But it was not because of them necessarily. Although the governor's a woman, the lieutenant governor is black, the attorney general is a lesbian, and the secretary of state can count past 10. That's pretty good.
Well, if I were correct,
But we did it because we put 2 ballot proposals on the ballot. To get out the youth vote, we put legalized marijuana, not this medical marijuana stuff or partial legal. No, full legalization. Full legalization. We doubled the youth vote from the last off-year election. Doubled it.
Speaking of which, if anyone after the show has hit me up.
The second ballot proposal was to outlaw gerrymandering. That passed with 61% of the vote to make gerrymandering illegal. But that brought people out. I don't think so the premise of your question, this loss of working class consciousness, I think the consciousness is higher than it's ever been because of everybody that's been put down into the situation of having to live from paycheck to paycheck. That's the majority of our fellow citizens. You can't have more consciousness than that when you're trying to figure out what the fuck am I going to do about my bills this week.
It's not what I'm talking about is not just awareness of your situation, but that translating into political affinities, into political action that forces material change.
97% of black women voted against Trump. 97%. I'm telling you, we need African Americans, especially black women, young people, women in general. 70% of the people who are eligible to vote next year, and I'm talking about Democrats, Republicans, the whole of the American voting public, 70% of them are either women, people of color, or between the ages of 18 and 35, or a combination of the three. That is 70% of next year's electorate. If we can't fucking speak to that, if we can't get ballot proposals and pass laws, if we can't run candidates that they're going to be excited to get up in the morning, that morning in November of 2020 and vote for them, nobody is waking up that morning saying, I can't wait to get to the polls to vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah. So, but
that's
Michael,
not going to happen, and that's how we're going to lose.
But Michael,
Yeah, but Joe 3088.
I mean, you've seen.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds very millennial and cool.
Fuck yeah.
Is it like a hologram? Is it some sort of one of those things like the QR code?
That's one of the BTSs, Matt.
What?
But I mean,
Yes.
where we are right now, for example, it's early days. There's no doubt. I mean, it'd be silly to try to forecast what's going to happen for all the important stuff we've been talking about because we're in the Richard Killian level of elections right now. But you gave the correct answer, which is that earlier that Bernie is the real candidate who offers a vision of change, an actual structure of change, a plan for change among these Democratic candidates.
And he's a street fighter.
And
the only way to defeat a street fighter is with a street fighter.
Correct. Now, you've been watching the debates. We've been watching them. So I guess what I'm asking is, how do you see the interminable period we have in front of us shaking out? I mean, you have Biden. He is seen as quote-unquote electable. He stays on the top of the polls right now. You have Warren as a kind of like sidecar to Bernie that never quite supersedes him, but who is certainly appealing to a certain class and to a certain subset of the Democratic base. And so I'm interested to hear a little bit on this stage tonight about what you think we can expect after these opening shots with the 8,000 interchangeable. I don't want to sound too woke about it, but really they are white, eyebrowless,
Or extra eyebrows. Too many eyebrows.
Too much eyebrows.
The only slider on the
the
bottom
eyebrow
10
scale.
Democratic candidate is the eyebrow
Yeah,
slider.
Joe Biden, as you said, Joe Biden NPCs. You know, you relabel them. You know, it's a swamp Joe Biden. It's a fucking mountain Joe Biden. Michael Bennet, John Hickenlooper, and then Joe Biden himself, like that we're confronted with all these. Do you think they just slay them away and we're fine? Or do you think there's an actual threat posed by the legacy of Obama wielded by Joe Biden, which would be a real a worry for anyone expecting Bernie to cut through the 2020 race?
Remember that open mic on Biden when they were going to sign some bill? And
the ACA, right?
and
Big fucking deal?
Big fucking deal. He says
fucking
to
deal.
No, that was
Obama.
the ACA.
Okay,
My day root beer tasted a lot better.
we need an accidental open mic on Obama when he says to Biden, "Get the fuck out of this race," because it's.
Do you really think that Obama would?
No,
No, he won't do it. He won't do it.
Partially because he doesn't want Bernie to get the nomination.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Now,
pretty
Bernie
clear.
is the most dangerous thing to all of them because Bernie will upend the whole game that they're playing. All these Democrats that are pundits on the cable news networks, they're all working for somebody. They're all answering to some money somewhere. You have to know that.
Yes.
I want to know who Claire Mccaskill. What is she doing? Who is she lobbying for?
Famous winner, Claire Mccaskill. Yeah.
And that was funny because the last cycle, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a ballot initiative in Missouri that passed
Yes.
for the raise the minimum wage.
Exactly.
While Claire Mccaskill got owned.
Right.
But she has
exactly.
decided that she lost because the National Party was too far to the left.
That's right.
She's 100% convinced
all the
of that.
ballot-
She is.
yeah,
let me tell you. But
No,
let me-
I ran on
Can I
people-
read something here? This is another example. If we stay on this path of how we're going to lose, and this is Kamala Harris this week announced her new policy position.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
We
Yeah,
have
this
covered
is
this.
good shit.
You
Yes.
guys talked about this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
this is
please
good
read it
shit.
on stage. I actually don't think we've read it on the show, so this might be the reading into it.
This
into the
is.
show.
I'm quoting her. All right. And
Oh, I love this so much.
I'm not going to add. I'm not
Say it
gonna
loud
add-
because we're going to be wooting the entire time.
I'm not
Put
going
it in
to
my
add a single
veins.
word. This is exact words. Here she goes. Yesterday, I announced that as president, I'll establish a student loan debt forgiveness program
Yes.
for Pell Grant recipients who start a business that operates for 3 years. 3 years in disadvantaged communities.
Can you dig
Give it up for
people?
USA!
I really hope I'm not. I really hope that I'm not stealing Amber's joke from an actual episode. But the day after this happened, she texted us saying that we needed to cover this on the show because that literally describes her.
This,
That's true. We did do that.
Yes, she is a Pell Grant recipient who started a small business that operates in a
my God,
disadvantaged
you're right.
neighborhood,
Yeah.
Brooklyn, New York. Coming up on 3
I believe
years.
somebody actually did the numbers on that, and if that was a current program, it would forgive the Pell Grants of something like 15,000 people in the United States.
Wonderful.
No, this will keep people home.
Yeah, exactly.
This will keep people home, and this is why they're afraid of Bernie, because he doesn't put out bullshit like this. He just says exactly what it is that he's going to do, and so if we end up along these lines with a candidate like this. If Bernie can't, look, I don't know, if you can believe the polls, let's say a year from now, or let's say 9 months from now, while the primaries are going on, and they start in probably 6 months from now.
Like February, January.
Yeah, February.
Yeah. So if the polls keep showing that Bernie would beat Trump, Biden would beat Trump, Harris would beat Trump, Warren would beat Trump, if there's 4 of them will beat Trump, then there's a clear one of them that will be on our side and will fight for the working people and the poor of this country. And that is obviously Bernie Sanders. And he will take Trump down. Now, we keep imagining the debates. Wow, wouldn't that be great? Bernie versus Trump.
Ooh, love it.
Okay, I'll make a prediction right now. Should Bernie be the candidate, Trump will refuse to debate.
Yes.
In fact, I think Trump may just refuse to debate, period. Just because he can, and he loves to do these things where we're all planning for it being normal, and he is the anti-normal, and he will not show up to the debate.
I disagree. I think he's going to be regular.
He's gonna be great.
I think he's going to be normal with it.
He's gonna be great. He's gonna be, look, folks, I've been president for 4 years. I've been low-key nutty with it.
I'm nutty.
I got to admit.
Folks,
I'm goated on the sticks.
I'm nice
You've
with it.
got to admit that I've been goated on the sticks. I'm cracked.
But honestly, I think that he'll do one maybe, and then it'll go horribly, and then
No,
I
I
think
can definitely see
he'll
him just
pull
not
away.
doing it at all.
I could see that
Because
as
what's
well.
the difference? What's the difference? Who gives a shit?
As Sterling Hayden said.
Yeah.
Mike, I know we're going long, but I was hoping we could do just two more things with you. And one is you told me the other night you have a 3-point plan for winning next year.
Yes, it's very simple.
999.
Yeah.
Thank you. Finally, Herman
Bring it all
Cain
back to
gets
Herman
his
Cain.
due.
I said this last night, but for the others, wine 'em, dine 'em, 999 'em.
In order for the 3-point plan to work, the majority of us have to start owning the fact that we are the majority. We are the American majority. The majority of Americans agree with us on every single issue. The majority of Americans take the progressive position on every. Name the issue. Go ahead. Name whether it's minimum wage, mass incarceration, choice. It doesn't matter what the issue is. Every poll shows that the majority of Americans agree with us. That is a gift that is rarely handed to you throughout history. I mean, Martin Luther King didn't have the majority with him.
No, not at all.
You know, Gloria Steinem didn't have the majority with her. This rarely happens. The fact that, and it's so perfect, especially for the amount of alcohol that's been consumed here tonight, there is...
I'm still good to drive.
The work's already been done for us. The people
Thank God.
are already with us. We don't have to go out and convince anyone that a fertilized egg is not a human being. We don't have to go out and convince anyone that it is wrong to lock up millions of African Americans in our prisons. We don't have to convince people that marijuana is the evilest thing that ever exists. No, we don't have to do any of that. They're already with us. That's the power. And forget about wasting your time on anything else right now. A third of the white guys will come along just because, you know,
We're cool.
The Will
Dudes
Menaker
rock.
contingent.
Yes.
Yes.
So here's the three ways to victory.
Because they're so
Next year.
craven that we will tell them that we won't like you if you don't vote the way we like.
Number one, people came out of the woodwork last November to vote. We had one of the largest turnouts for an off-year election ever. And what did they do? They put the Democrats back in charge of the House. If the Democrats don't do anything in these 2 years, and 1 year is almost up, they are not going to come back out next year. They will think that was a waste of time. The Democrats in the House have to do something. And they can sit back and say, well, we can't do anything because the Senate won't do it. You know, they can impeach. They don't need the Senate to impeach. They need to impeach. They need to create a historical record that what this president has done is criminal, it's immoral, and it's wrong, just plain wrong. And they need to go on the record and say that, and we don't need to take 5 months with it. The impeachment should take a week, right? The evidence already exists. The evidence exists. We don't have to do any evidence collection.
I agree with you, but I am not optimistic on this one.
I am. I think if the Democrats...
You're optimistic about Nancy?
What number are they at now? How many are they at now?
I
Or
believe
if-
they broke the majority of the caucus today. Is supports an impeachment. This is the rare thing where the Out of Snow song, "We Gotta Do Something," comes into play, because just do literally anything.
Well, forgive me
It's
for
enough
my pessimism, but the fact that
I'm not
Nancy
talking
Pelosi just breezed through the fucking U.S. House, billions of dollars for the president to continue running his fucking concentration camps on the border fucking the continued lack of accountability for our fucking Gestapo on the fucking border and then also responded to criticism from AOC, from Ilhan Omar, from progressives in that caucus by going after them and demonizing them gives me very little hope for Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Well, no, it should give you a little hope for us winning next year, because Pelosi's behavior guarantees that those people that came out in November who hadn't voted in a long time are going to stay at home.
Yeah.
Because what they've seen her piss on the very people that they put in there because they wanted change. And if change doesn't occur, if they can't take a stand against Trump, and I'm not talking about Russia, I'm talking about it's enough for me to impeach him because he said last week that Article 2 gives me the right to do anything I want. No, you don't have that power, and now I have to impeach you for it.
I agree, but I want to see the damn impeachment.
I want to see the impeachment as long as one of the articles is it is charged that the president wears a diaper. Because that's all he would talk about for the next 2 years. He would just be like, I don't wear a diaper, fake news. And he would get everybody in the cabinet on press conferences and be like, do I wear a diaper? And they'd be like, no.
Look at these wonderful briefs I'm wearing.
You that I don't wear a diaper. And then whoever got the nomination, they would spend the entire campaign. Every commercial would be, hello, I'm President Donald Trump. I don't wear a diaper. I approve this message. Everyone would be like, what the fuck? What about healthcare? Yeah, diaper? I do not wear one. Just so you know. That's fake news. That's the only way it's going to work.
Well,
Number two, what I mentioned earlier, we need ballot proposals in the dozen swing states where on the ballot there are these measures that will bring out the base, the people that will vote for our candidate. If we do that, I'm telling you, it's a slam dunk. If we have minimum wage ballot proposals, equal rights amendment for women, there's a whole list of things we could put on there. Student loan relief, free college, we need
the candidates for the proposals because, as we saw in Missouri,
yes.
That people came out for the damn minimum wage increase, but not for freaking Claire Mccaskill.
But not for her.
Who ran out. You all should be working harder.
That's correct. So that brings me to point number 3. We need to run a beloved candidate who is a street fighter for the working people and the poor of this country, because they're the majority of the country. And when they see somebody fighting for them, not telling them for the umpteenth time that they're from Oklahoma and my 4 brothers were all in the military, and trying to do all this stuff to patronize what they think the working class wants to hear, when what they want is to be able to fly to the funeral of an aunt or a grandparent and have the money to be able to do that. That's all they're asking for. That's all they're asking for.
So
Hang on. Don't you think the working class might want someone who skateboards or knows 7 languages?
They don't.
That's something that every single person at dinner tables across the country that they are talking about. Gosh, I just want someone who speaks Finnish.
As a caveat, as far as skateboarding, a number of countries have lowered the voting age to 16. I support this.
Get consumers involved.
Right?
I need more YouTubers directing our electoral audience.
I need more people.
Videos on YouTube that are "This is my Sephora haul" and also why you should be voting for Bernie Sanders.
Every single person who owns Felix in Fortnite should be entitled to vote.
Yes.
No matter if they are 9 years old.
Now that you guys, you're sounding old now.
Enjoy President Logan Paul.
You're punking on the teenagers. You don't turn into your parents. Come on.
No. The teens
We
are cool.
have
The teens
to.
are very cool.
You know that, Mike.
It's the circle of life.
I
moves us all.
I just watched a video today of probably 50 teenagers bum rushing the fence at Lollapalooza in Chicago and getting all over together through a feat of collective action and disturbance.
No, that is
because
collective
just like
action.
the Area 51 raid, they could not stop them all, and they all got into Lollapalooza. So
one
good
guy
on those
got
teenagers.
caught.
I can't wait to see those fucking aliens.
One guy was arrested, and I hope he had a smirk on his face and said, "You could not get us all."
Now, look, we have to do this part.
Mike, I know we're running a bit long, but if you do this for us, we have a regular segment on Chapo Trap House called the Duck Hunt, where we. Why the hell is it
Been a
called-
while
Wait,
since the Duck Hunt.
Why
Wow,
is it
that's
called-
we haven't called it that in
Episode
about 2.5
3?
years.
Yeah.
Why is it called that?
'Cause it was originally death threats, and then we were worried about getting sued. That's the actual truth.
So, since we are talking about 2020 and the two debates, which you saw the last two debates,
Yes.
the New York Times has an interactive feature up, an opinion piece, featuring
Just a stable of commentators, some of their in-house columnists,
Wags, pundits, intelligentsia,
genius
thoughts, yeah.
thoughts, pogs,
who all
snacks.
who watched the debates,
Entire
and
hose.
they assigned a numeric grade to each candidate and explained why, and it is batshit crazy, and
Yes.
we would like to read
We're
it
just-
out and then roast the responses. Did you do us the honors of doing this with us?
I'd absolutely love to.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you okay with this? Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. I'm
You haven't seen this, have you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Kevin,
You are in for a treat.
Ever seen this?
Forget everything you knew about Sarah Vowell.
Debate the other day.
Okay. Yeah, it's a bummer, folks. I'm just going to be honest with you because we got Liz Mayer doing a lot of commentary. Now, Liz Mayer, a Republican strategist who, correct me if I'm wrong,
I love Exile in Guideville. It's a great album.
she worked for Walker, Paul,
Perry.
Perry,
Losers.
all Republican fucking losers.
folks. She's a
But
loser.
as I'm sure you've noticed, Mike, just saying you're a never Trump Republican means you get so many writing gigs in the liberal media.
Yeah.
It's easy.
So we're going to get a bit from her. Now, Sanders, the New York Times response. I'm cherry picking here.
You heard of this guy. You know.
Bernie Sanders from the first night, 5 out of 10. Liz Mayer. Sanders made the same mistake Warren did, punching down. But he's also
Wait, what?
the man who's a populist,
wait,
stem winder
what?
about
Wait,
the,
wait, what?
He
the
punched
elite.
down to pharmaceutical executives.
Yeah, who she punched down?
The owners of big shares in these companies.
She doesn't explain.
No, because she said the Warren thing. When she says punching down, she means attacking Tim Ryan and John Delaney because they are low in the polls.
Yeah.
That makes them minorities.
But Tim Ryan.
having 1% in presidential polls basically makes you a
We
minority.
talk about
low-polled Americans.
We debate over who is baby on the show, but John Delaney is 100% baby.
Oh, my God.
That is
okay.
punching up baby.
Punching down. But he's also, Sanders, far less policy fluent than Warren is, and he gets a lower mark as a result. Like Warren, Sanders got fairly pinned on banning private health insurance, and no one other. Just again, contrast what you experienced during this debate with what the New York Times is registering this as. Like Warren, Sanders got fairly pinned on banning private health insurance, and no one other than unions will like his trade answer. Obviously.
No one
No one
the
except for the
organized
working class would
of the
care about
country
this.
will enjoy
Fuck
this.
now.
Who cares what they think?
Now, Sarah Vowell, 3 out of 10. When Senators Warren and Sanders dismissed legitimate critiques of their similar health plans, particularly the radical proposal of abolishing private health insurance, applause line, as Republican talking points, I was enraged to a degree that I cannot adequately describe in a family newspaper.
You're a writer.
basically-
It's your job to describe it.
She's basically like one of those mothers who gets superhuman strength to lift a car off of her kid, but her kid is Etna.
She adds, an apology would be nice.
An apology to Sarah Vowell.
Yeah.
Apologize to Blue Cross.
Apologize to McSweeney's.
You made him cry.
Mayor PD with the little gnat on his head apparently, which was happening the first night. Someone gives him 7 out of 10. Says he's super progressive. Brett Stevens, shout out. He was far and away the most poised and confident speaker, persuasive and pleasantly ingratiating, even when I didn't agree. So he's loving him. And Sarah Vowell, sorry, she gave the worst answers. This is going to be a theme. 8 out of 10. If you had read his memoir and he had me at gym class was not my scene, he was educated. He was educated by Oxford and the Navy.
Oh my God! Educated by the Navy. He knows a sheep shank from a clove hitch.
She assures us he's going to be president
Who
someday.
gives a fuck?
Klobuchar.
You know Klobuchar.
We all love Klobuchar.
Everyone in this room has had a shoe thrown at them by Amy Klobuchar.
And if you have not, her pledge is that she will come to each and every American's house and throw a piece of her office at you.
Also, the Midwest, I believe, Minnesota, and a state that Clinton almost lost.
He did. It was close.
Will
Klobuchar's
Wilkinson.
big thing is I won it multiple times.
Will Wilkinson. I literally did not know who that is. Will Wilkinson for the New York Times.
Sucks.
Yeah, he sucks shit. Senator Klobuchar is a stone cold killer.
She will literally murder staff members. They are buried in Rock Creek Park in D.C.
But she's playing it cool. She's going slow and steady up the middle without being a jerk to the left like Delaney. Her no-nonsense, practical...
That's it, Monty. Climb the ladder.
Her no-nonsense, practical, gator-done Midwestern affect is thrilling, but it connects. I believe...
Connects with who? Who are you talking about?
Okay.
You are some asshole in New York. You have never talked to a person. You've not spoken to a person who makes under 6 figures who is not taking your goddamn drink order in 30 fucking years. Who are you talking about?
That is the Matt Christman. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Matt Christman that we've been watching the debates with in a hotel room and publicly for the past couple of days.
Amy Klobuchar has a crossbow aimed right squarely at my forehead. Her aim is incredibly good.
Yeah.
If you would like to call the police, that would be wonderful. She's doing very well right now, though.
All right, here we go. Biden. This is the New York Times review of Biden.
You heard about that? You heard of this guy? You heard of this?
Yeah, Mr. Biden. I'm gonna go through everybody.
Oh.
Charles Blow gave him 7 out of 10. This was okay. This is my own personal thing. He says this was a make or break moment, and he made it, or precisely, he scraped by. So he didn't make or break. He did something.
Yeah,
a
it's
third
a binary
thing.
goddamn concept.
You can't say make or break and then he does something else besides make or break. It's not
He passed or failed.
Not
And
how
he
that
did
works.
something.
Charles Blow, not as good a writer or lyricist as his father, Curtis.
Curtis Blow, much better. Okay, Liz Mayer,
That guy a
again.
rapper? I don't know.
By the way, Liz Mayer, I used to be a media reporter, okay? And when I was a media reporter, I worked for Haverbrook. I worked for Springfield. When I worked for Vice, I worked for Newsweek, and every time private prisons were in danger, Liz Mayer would hit me up, and she would give me the skinny on why they're being given a raw deal. And when the Obama administration in their last legs were federally trying to crack down on private prisons, I got a huge fucking dump from Liz Mayer in my inbox. So she's not only...
You're just a bad person.
Bad
That's
person.
it. Period.
Not only-
In a metaphysical sense, you are bad.
Not only a representative of losers, but just a bad person. Now, she says 8 out of 10 for Biden. Wild. The hits just keep on coming. But he was much more fluid tonight. 3033 00033.
Yeah, the gray matter between his ears was much more fluid than it was at the beginning of the debate.
His solid brain matter was fluid by the end of the night. It was wonderful.
He basically
the
had a
sloshing
fucking
sound it made when he turned his head.
He had a Wendy's Frosty between his ears by the end of the debate.
Fluid, folks. Willing to throw many punches and showcase his experience. He handled Harris well in many exchanges. I suspect the frequent invocation of Obama, the fact that it doesn't sound scripted and looks just aggressive enough, will keep him in good standing.
Biden was very tough against people who were mysteriously burning toast in his vicinity.
Biden is getting a lot of traction just from knowing who the last guy he worked for is.
Now, this is the last one we're going to do. I skipped over a couple. Y'all remember Delaney, John Delaney?
Oh, yeah.
Friend of the show, John Delaney.
Friend of the show.
We're going to get him our big baby.
Human thumb, John
You
Delaney.
remember John Delaney, right, Mike?
I don't want to lose John Delaney because that's the entertainment
Fuck
factor
no.
right there.
He is the heel. He's the beautiful villain in any of one of these debates, okay? Now, this is the New York Times. All of the reviews that I've highlighted here are 8
John
out of
Delaney
10.
looks at every moment on those debates like he's about to edit an entry in WikiFeet.
Folks, okay, we're going to go through 4 John Delaney reviews from the New York Times. Liz Mayer, starting it up at 9 out of 10.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a barn burner.
You were there. You remember how it was clearly a 9 out of 10
You know,
performance.
where
Okay.
he looked like an anthropomorphized fucking Goofy.
Yeah.
Like every time he smiled, there should have been like a little bubble above his head that went, oh, hook.
If Mario was on the stage, he would jump on him
Yes.
and get a coin from his
Yeah.
fucking head. Okay. Liz Mayer, 9 out of 10. Unbelievable. 9 out of 10. A virtual no-namer who seemed to garner more attacks from Sanders Warren, both of whom were not unnecessarily and dangerously punching down than Donald Dangerous.
He's a fucking millionaire.
Punching down.
He's a million his own campaign by the tune of like
Guys.
$25 million.
Matt, be fair. Got way more oxygen than he deserved. And that's what he wants and needs to stay alive. Now, everyone knows his name. That wasn't true before tonight. On trade, he and Beto are far closer to the actual Democratic electorate than Sanders Warren. And he forced them to spend a lot of airtime showing how out of step they are with their own voters. Bottom line, he got the big dogs to elevate him, which should have been completely impossible. And even if he's not where the base is on policy overall, he'll probably do better as a result. He really can't do worse.
I love that. It's like he made a name for himself. It's like, yeah, like that scrappy young go-getter John Wayne Gacy.
Okay.
Made a name for himself. They call him Diaper John Delaney, and everyone knows.
They call him
his name.
shithead John Delaney. Everyone's saying
They
it.
call him bald dipshit John Delaney.
It's on everyone's lips. No one can stop saying it. Okay, Brett Stevens, but as we all know, climate denier, Wall Street Journal, asshole.
Never written an interesting or memorable phrase in his life. Sponge-like scum accretion.
Suffered literal-
one-man indictment of Western civilization.
Suffered.
Like the fact that he has the job he has honestly means that society should not exist. If those are the kind of results that it will put out.
Iraq war promoter, anti-Arab racist, Brett Stevens.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. 8 out of 10 for John Delaney. Well, I agree with much of what he says. And Democrats desperately need to hear the voice of someone like him who speaks for a lot of voters turned off by the constant demonization of the private sector.
The Democratic electorate has been dying
We love
for
our
the
private
voice.
sector, folks.
It's been dying for the voice of the teacher from Peanuts.
Yes.
We want to make it so that people can actually access health care in this country. Well,
Next, and this is the second to last, Peter Wiener. Sorry.
come on.
Both his
not
names
okay.
mean penis.
That's just mean.
As
Don't
Chris-
say his real name.
No, as Chris said, he has 2 names for penis. And
Richard
From the New York
Johnson.
Times columnist Dick Johnson.
8 out of 10. For John Delaney, he helped himself the most. Known by almost no one before tonight, he was quite effective criticizing the healthcare plans of Warren and Sanders. He's serious and made the essential point. Warren's and Sanders' agenda is essentially anti-private sector.
Oh, no. Who doesn't love the private sector? You know that thing that has, like, strapped you down to a table and been force-feeding you bull and dog and horse shit into your mouth for the last 30 years?
He's against it, folks.
Mike,
He was,
do you think Warren and Sanders' pen is anti-private sector?
We will not hear the words private sector 5 years from now.
fuck yeah.
Thanks to the 18 to 35-year-old socialist
Hey,
majority
let's
in
hope.
this
You
country.
go to small town America, you go to diners everywhere, and everybody's like, we love our private sector. We're just worried
No.
about it.
No, this is...
We're so
this thing-
worried.
that what you're
Or
reading...
we will not hear it because of the compliance cube, which requires us all to have good thoughts at all times.
Why do these people have jobs? Who is paying them? This is absolute...
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking of running for president because
Hey,
I am like...
go for it.
Listening to this, one of my platform planks will be to round up all the pundits.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to round them all up.
Yes!
And now I'm a nonviolent person. There's a lot of room out in Utah. We can build them a nice town.
Sure.
I hear there's a nice unoccupied ranch called Skinwalker.
Yeah, they
Something-
can go to
yeah,
Skinwalker
something like
we
Ranch.
can
that.
put them on.
Put
They
them
can say
there.
hello to the
Put all
the
the,
ETs.
all
There's
the
a few
pundits
islands
go
in the
there.
few islands in the Virgin Islands.
And-
Yeah, they probably won't have many visitors.
And I don't know. I don't know if anybody plays a trumpet, but somebody should play taps for the New York Times
Oh, my God.
because it is over.
It is over.
It's so over. It's amazing, and we do need an inquisitive, aggressive press in this country, and we don't have it. We do not have it. And this, what you just read, is the most stunning thing that would, my God, you know,
You get paid a lot of money to write
it's been
that.
digitized now, and if the world is still here in 50 to 100 years, this exists. People are going to read it. They're going to have symposiums where they're just going to laugh at us right now. They're not going to believe this was called the paper of record, that this is the most important newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to look awful.
And their range of commentary is 5 different people who all give John Delaney 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10, folks.
Look,
No.
that sounds stupid, but you're forgetting they're actually referring to his physical attractiveness.
Yes.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
he's a goddamn dime.
He's
I
a
think we
thought.
can all
He's
agree.
a pog. He's a
He's
big
a
booty bitch.
snack.
Yes.
I live in a country where the majority of voters, the 70% who are women, people of color, and young adults, I believe the majority of voters, the actual people, are to the left of Elizabeth Warren. They paint her as someone who's some leftist Pied Piper. The actual people
Yes.
out there struggling day in and day out, you know, they may not have a label for themselves, but the things they believe in are to the left of Elizabeth Warren, and in some ways to the left of Bernie. You know, the way we have to look at Bernie and Elizabeth Warren is they're as good as we've got, and they will act as servants of the people. The people need to direct them to do the job that needs to get done. And all these networks, they have an agenda that they're pushing. It's clear what the agenda is. You guys have called them out on it, and do they listen? I hope they listen to this.
We know there
Some
are
of them
listeners.
There's some sick
They
little
get very
puppies
mad
who
when we
listen to the
tweet
show.
mean things at them.
There are some little pain pigs who enjoy getting
They're
their
inside.
testicles stepped on.
They are in there for sure.
There's some of them that, honestly, we cannot even tell you because then we would lose the satisfaction of them continuing to get mad.
Well,
at
if
it.
they are listening right now, let me just
Tell
say
you, one of them is a treat boy, I'll tell you that much.
to these New York Times columnists, to the right-wingers who are pundits on MSNBC, America is laughing at you. You are a joke. And we're lucky enough to have this show as a means to amplify the fact that we think you're a joke. Do you hear me, all you 8 out of 10ers? You're a goddamn joke. You're a fraud. We're on to you. And by God, we are going to somehow do an end run around you so that we are going to run the country from this point on. We, the working people, the poor of America, the majority of Americans who believe in these things, you know, somewhat tepid applause from the audience because it's hard to believe that we would ever be in charge.
Because it's been destroyed. The idea of working people coming together and extracting concessions and demanding their fair share. That idea has been destroyed.
Not in me, it hasn't.
Systematically eliminated from this country.
Not in me, it hasn't, and not in the people I know. And when I'm in the White House,
Yes, here we go. Here we go.
Secretary of State, right here,
God, that's too much for me. I'll take
God.
Attorney General,
Yes. Oh,
FCC
yes.
commissioner.
Attorney
Yes.
General,
Yes.
Secretary of Agriculture.
That fucking sucks.
No. You're going to grow the weed. You're going to grow the weed for us.
Yeah.
You're going to grow the weed for a new America. That's your job.
Thank you, Michael. No, I mean, I think that's as inspiring as a place to end on, as us all ruling a different fiefdom of future America.
Mike, do you have any closing thoughts?
I want to thank you for coming to Traverse City. I want to thank this great audience for being here. And I want to remind you of something. There are more of us than there are of them.
Yes.
That will never change. So take the power that's already in your hands. We can make something very important happen in the next 18 months. We have to do this, folks. We don't have a choice.
No choice.
No choice, because we have someone in the White House who truly thinks he's never leaving and may actually act in a way or do something, whether it's to start a war or to create a fake terrorist incident or to just say, I'm not leaving because all these illegal aliens voted for the Democrat. Whatever it is he's got up in his mind, this is truly the most dangerous time that we've ever been in. And to sit by and not do anything will certainly be our ruin. So take pride in the power that you have. You are not alone. If you're listening to this someplace out there in the middle of the country, you are not alone. You are the majority, and we will succeed because we are smarter than Brett Stevens.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That is the message of Jeremy Corbyn. We are many, there are few, and that is the message of Bernie Sanders, not me, us.
Us. We, the very
Michael-
first American word. It's in the Constitution. The first word that we wrote down. We, the people. Not me, the people. We, the people. That's who we are. This is our last chance, folks. It's in your hands.
This is our last chance. Michael Moore, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Traverse
Thank you,
City.
Chapo
We are
Chapo.
Chapo Chapo.
Thank you.
Thank you.